perched precariously within the gaping mouth of a massive, ancient cave. Predjama Castle in Slovenia defies architectural logic. It is not merely built against a cliff face. It is literally built into the rock, emerging from the dark, colossal maw like a grotesque, beautiful extension of the mountain itself. This fortress, seemingly hewn from the very bone of the earth, has been the stage for centuries of conflict, intrigue, and the legend of one of Europe's most audacious outlaws. This is the story of Knight Erazem of Lueg, a rogue baron, a Robin Hood figure, and a strategic genius whose life ended not in glorious battle, but in a final, humiliating act of betrayal. He was the master of Predjama, a fortress believed to be utterly impregnable, sustained by secret tunnels and an unwavering defiance that drove his enemies to madness. The central question that Predjama Castle forces us to confront is this: how could a single outlaw knight, cornered by the might of the Holy Roman Empire, possibly withstand a year-long siege in a remote cave castle? Was it divine intervention? Or did Erazem possess secrets so profound that they allowed him to mock his enemies from within his seemingly inescapable prison? To truly unlock the impossible survival of Predjama is to descend into a world of medieval deception, geological marvels, and the tragic, almost absurd final fate of a defiant legend. The historical stage for Erazem's legend begins in the late 15th century, a turbulent time in Central Europe. The Holy Roman Empire was a vast, sprawling entity, and its authority was often challenged by ambitious, ruthless nobles. Erazem, born into the powerful Lueg family, was a man of his era, a knight, a robber baron, and a fiercely independent spirit. His infamous conflict began with a seemingly minor act of defiance. Erazem was a vassal of the Habsburg Holy Roman Emperor Frederick III. However, when a relative of Erazem was executed by the Habsburgs for banditry, Erazem, in a fit of rage and revenge, killed a marshal of the imperial court. This act immediately branded him an outlaw and an enemy of the emperor himself. With a massive bounty on his head, Erazem retreated to his ancestral stronghold, Predjama Castle. This was not merely a convenient hiding place. It was a fortress perfectly suited to his rebellious spirit. Nestled within a vast cave system, with its front face built from stone and its back and sides as natural rock, it offered unparalleled natural defenses. From Predjama, Erazem continued his banditry, raiding Habsburg caravans, ambushing their troops, and distributing some of his spoils to the local peasants, earning him the local moniker of a benevolent Robin Hood. His defiance became a deep embarrassment to the emperor and a constant thorn in the side of the regional governor, Baron Gaspar Ravbar, who swore to bring Erazem to justice. The stage was set for the ultimate showdown, the might of the empire versus a single outlaw entrenched in an impossible fortress. In 1484, Baron Ravbar, leading a substantial force, laid siege to Predjama Castle. The sheer absurdity of the task must have been evident to him. How do you besiege a castle that is literally part of the mountain? The folklore surrounding the siege speaks volumes about Erazem's genius and the psychological toll it took on his attackers. The mockery legend claims that, as the siege wore on, Erazem would taunt his besiegers by tossing fresh cherries and other delicacies down from the castle walls. This was a direct, calculated insult meant to demoralize Ravbar's starving troops and make them question how the castle could possibly be the endless provisions. The besiegers could not understand how Erazem's castle, seemingly cut off from all supply lines, continued to thrive. They themselves began to suffer from hunger and exposure, while Erazem appeared to be living in luxury. The year-long ordeal, the siege stretched on for an agonizing year, a testament to Predjama's impregnability and Erazem's stubborn refusal to surrender. The frustration of Baron Ravbar must have been immense. His massive army was rendered useless against a castle that seemed to defy the very laws of siege warfare. He couldn't storm it, he couldn't starve it, and he certainly couldn't dig beneath it. His only option was to wait, and to grow increasingly desperate. The truth behind Erazem's impossible survival lay not in magic or divine intervention, but in the extraordinary geological structure beneath Predjama Castle. Erazem was not trapped. He was simply utilizing the mountain's natural defenses to their fullest extent. His strategic genius lay in understanding and exploiting this subterranean labyrinth. The secret exit, the most crucial secret, was a hidden, narrow passage known as Erazem's Passage. This natural tunnel wound its way deep into the cave system, eventually emerging on the opposite side of the mountain, far from the besieging forces. This passage was Erazem's lifeline, uninterrupted supply. Through Erazem's Passage, the knight was able to send out his men to raid nearby villages and towns, bringing back fresh food, water, and other supplies directly into the castle. While Ravbar's men starved, Erazem was feasting, thanks to his secret route. Fresh water. The cave system itself contained an underground river and natural springs, providing an inexhaustible supply of fresh water, another critical element for surviving a prolonged siege. Strategic raids. The passage also allowed Erazem to launch surprise raids on the surrounding Habsburg territories, striking at his enemies and then disappearing back into the mountain without a trace, further demoralizing Ravbar's forces. Predjama Castle was not just a fortress, it was a self-sustaining ecosystem of defiance, all thanks to its geological foundation. Erazem truly did live in luxury while mocking his enemies, because he had a secret backdoor to the world. Erazem's luck, however, could not last forever. Baron Ravbar, desperate and humiliated, eventually resorted to the oldest and most effective weapon in siege warfare: treachery. He bribed one of Erazem's own servants, promising him a substantial reward for revealing the outlaw's single, fatal vulnerability. The traitor, whose name is often given as Martin or some other variant, knew Erazem's daily habits. He knew that Erazem, despite his lavish lifestyle, had a single human weakness: a need to use the castle's privy. The privy, a latrine built into the outer wall of the castle, was considered the most vulnerable point, as it was less protected than the inner chambers. It was one of the few places where the thick, natural rock did not fully encompass. On the night of July 28, 1484, the servant, having been paid, signaled to Ravbar's forces outside. As Erazem retired to the privy, a single cannonball, precisely aimed, was fired. The cannonball struck the flimsy outer wall of the latrine, instantly killing Erazem in a tragically undignified manner. The great outlaw, who had defied an emperor and withstood a year-long siege, met his end not in glorious combat, but in the most embarrassing and mundane of circumstances. His impregnable fortress was never breached by force of arms. It was undone by a cannonball and a moment of human weakness. Predjama Castle remains a testament to the power of human ingenuity, defiance, and the astonishing capabilities of natural geography. The legend of Knight Erazem of Lueg is a powerful narrative of a Robin Hood figure, a true outlaw who used his wits and the very land itself to defy an empire. The truth reveals that Erazem's impossible survival during the year-long siege was not miraculous, but a brilliant exploitation of the extensive karst cave system that allowed him to maintain an endless supply line and launch surprise attacks. The serpent of the castle was not just its visual appearance, but the winding, hidden tunnels that formed its vital, secret organs. His tragic, ignominious death at the hands of a traitorous cannonball in the most vulnerable part of his impregnable fortress serves as a brutal reminder that even the most ingenious defenses can be undone by human frailty and betrayal. Today, Predjama Castle stands as one of Slovenia's most breathtaking attractions, a place where history and geology intertwine in spectacular fashion. It is a monument to a defiant spirit, a testament to a unique architectural vision, and a chilling reminder that even within the safest walls, the most dangerous enemies are sometimes those closest to home. The spirit of Erazem, the outlaw knight who mocked his enemies from within his impossible fortress, lives on a permanent echo in the deep, silent caves of Predjama.